We are live. I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of Heart to Heart with Bree. Tonight, Andrew and I will be talking about sugar and the brain.
Right.
Andrew, please introduce yourself to the viewers.
Sure. Again, I am your co-host. I am here the first Sunday in each month, and on those rare occasions, like today, I co-host. Again, the burden is because I love the Lord. Um, I want to share my experience with you, the viewer, so that if you are thinking about, if you hear God calling, I just want to put messages out there that will help you as you go on your Christian journey.
So, tonight's topic will be sugar and the brain.
Yeah.
I would like to, let the viewers know, for those who don't know me, when I'm very prayerful about the topics that I come up with. And there are topics that there are some things we don't give a second thought. Like a lot of people don't stop and think about their sugar consumption.
Right.
But when you get to a certain age, you really have to, think about these things.
Right, right.
From personal experience,
Mhm.
I love sugar.
Right.
I love sugar.
Mhm.
But you get to a point in life where you have to make decisions, you
Right.
know. So I would like the viewers to really, to think about this episode. Please post your questions and comments. Please feel free to share. And as always, this is never from a place of judgment and telling you how to live your life. It's a point of view. So,
Right.
Andrew, I will begin with, can sugar be classified as a drug?
Can sugar be classified as a drug? And
Yes.
and like you said, we're coming from a point of uh, providing information and not medical advice, right? So this particular question, this topic, can sugar be classified as a drug? Um, it's as old as ever. I mean, the powers that be, they have been debating this for quite some time. So, although sugar has the same type of physical and psychological effect on us, like nicotine and like alcohol and like opioids. Um, it is based on the clinical guidelines. It is not classified currently under those guidelines as a drug, but it has the same similar effect, physical and psychological effect as alcohol and opioids.
It
So so so
does.
so, so that's what it is. But
Yes.
yeah, but
But for
but the
this
individual.
question, this is something I want to get the viewers thinking,
Mm,
which will lead into my next question. Let's talk about the addictive nature of sugar. Now,
uh-huh,
I
yeah.
personally can tell, I will share,
Hmm.
that has been my struggle in life. Like
Okay.
years ago, I was going to the gym every day,
Hmm.
always reading labels,
Hmm.
consuming very little fat. That was
Hmm.
I've never been big on fatty foods, watch
Hmm.
my saturated fat, and I couldn't figure out, why am I not losing weight?
Hmm.
And then I
Hmm.
remember reading an article about sugar,
Right.
and it was such a shock, all that, because then I realized what my problem was.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
remember that this was my first experience with trying to cut out sugar and going cold turkey.
Mm.
And I tell
Mm.
you, it's the most unpleasant thing ever for anyone. I mean, if you don't believe me, try it for yourself.
Mhm,
Try it for
mhm.
yourself. So let's talk about the addictive nature of sugar.
Right. Yeah. Like you said, um, so because it's not officially classified as a drug, but it is addictive in nature.
Yes.
So if you if you decide, if you choose to go on a sugar diet, and you're 1, 2, 3 days into it, you're going to feel and suffer all of the similar withdrawal symptoms, um,
Yes.
as anyone that is giving up, alcohol or
Yes.
nicotine. So you're going to you're going to the headaches, um, the lightheadedness, the irritability. Yeah, I mean, you name it, the jitters, sweating,
Yes.
and again, it depends on each individual. You may get one or the other. Some may get a combination of, but you're going to definitely feel that something is happening in your body, and it's going to take some mental discipline to to either fail or to press on and to succeed. Yes.
It's true. It's the most unpleasant thing.
Hmm.
I can tell you, it's like your body is crying for that sugar. It's just like a person, like you said earlier, going through that withdrawal from
Yeah.
drugs, from alcohol. It
Hmm.
is no different. And I'm
So
telling you, I've been through this more than once. And
so
each time it's
so
like
let
I
me
tell
ask you then,
myself,
Bree.
never again.
Uh, when you said that you have this craving, this liking for sugar, um, in what in what um, in what aspect was your sugar intake? Was it chocolate, cookies, ice cream?
Oh, anything to do with sugar. Now, I've come a long way, and I picked up some old habits again during COVID,
Right.
unfortunately. But I'm here to tell you, whether it's cookies,
Yeah.
soda,
Uh-huh.
whatever it is, I
Right.
have always had a sweet tooth, like chips,
You didn't
pretzels,
you
all
didn't
that. I don't need
discriminate.
it. I don't need that. I don't need the salty,
Okay.
savory things. That's
Right.
just
Right.
not for me.
Mm,
But when it
mm,
comes to sugar, now I
mm,
will say this,
mm.
going through the struggle of withdrawal from sugar,
Yeah.
once you get over it, it's the best feeling ever.
Mm,
But
mm,
it's to endure it until the end, until you finally
mm.
kick that habit. But it's
Right.
not, but it's not easy to do. Like, I'm
Mm,
telling myself now, it's time to make the choice again. Like, after I reached out to you about the topic, I had to start going through where I was starting to pull away. I didn't go cold turkey, but
right.
I started to cut back, because
Mm,
when we were growing up,
mm.
we didn't have certain things every single day.
Correct.
Coming
Correct.
to this country, I've
Yeah.
noticed it's like it's just become a part of life. Like,
Right.
dessert was like on Sundays for Sunday
Mm-hmm.
dinner,
You're right.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not like that now. It's like these things that were, a weekly thing, a month, they
Yeah.
become daily,
Right. Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I'll ask my next question: is
Mm.
sugar a silent killer?
Mm. A silent killer, a slow silent killer. Yeah, yeah. I would definitely say that. I would definitely say that because one, because we don't consciously acknowledge it as a drug. We don't consciously acknowledge it as an addiction, or even that we are addicted to it.
Yes.
So we're just consuming it. We're liking it. I mean, obviously, it is sugar. It is sweet. It's pleasurable, right? So therefore, whatever adverse reactions, effects, whatever damage is taking place, we're just not conscious of it for the most part until you're at that chronic stage, really. So in many cases, you somebody having an issue with sugar, the first thing we think of is diabetes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just looking at a number of articles, I mean, where it said like 1 in 10 Americans is diabetic, but then it says 40% of the population is pre-diabetic, and 80% of that 40% are completely unaware that they are
Yes.
pre-diabetic. So all those hundreds of thousands and millions of people are slowly, their bodies are slowly being affected, whether it's their eyesight, whether it's their liver, their kidney, high blood pressure, cholesterol. All of these things are being slowly affected, and they have no idea that
It's true.
something bad is taking place.
It's true. I'd like to welcome Maxine. Thank you so much for tuning in, Maxine.
Hi,
Andrew,
Maxine.
I remember years ago when, hearing about people in Jamaica being diabetic. And I remember thinking, how could people in Jamaica be diabetic? But then I had to stop and think back to the starchy foods, but not just that. Think about that condensed milk. I think back to as a kid, Milo. We all love Milo, right?
Right?
With condensed
Yeah.
milk and
Yeah, Milo
sugar.
condensed.
Think about it.
Sometimes I would even put water in it. You would just make a little
Yeah,
syrup.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And because I'm telling you,
Yeah.
that was one of my favorites, especially when you get to the bottom of the cup and then it's like you're trying to get the last of the sugar and the milk and everything. That was the best
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
So you think
But
about the habits,
mhm.
that as kids, and we
Yeah.
so subconsciously, because you're thinking Jamaican people work hard, they're not eating all
Yeah,
this healthy
right.
stuff. Yeah.
So most of our friends, most of our friends in high school, primary school, elementary, were basically thin.
Yes,
there were always
everyone.
that one person
Mhm.
that was just slightly overweight.
Yeah.
But for the most part, most of us, because we walked everywhere, right?
Maxine, I'm not
We were
cutting you off,
outside.
Andrew, but Maxine is saying she loved condensed milk and bread. Now,
Yes.
I thought I was the only
Maxine.
person in the world that liked condensed milk and bread. And then I
No,
found out
yes.
we
You
all were
put that
doing
condensed milk on
pour it on the
white
bread.
Wonder bread or the Hado bread. Yes. Oh yes. And oh yeah, it was a thing. It was.
So finish what you were saying. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Yeah. Yeah, but whereas now this elementary, high school, middle school age group is visibly obese, right?
Yes.
We weren't, because we were outdoors, so although we were creating these bad habits, right? There was still a balance, because we would eat the fresh cane, the sugar cane, the coconut water, the orange, the lime, tamarind. There was just so many fruits, and
There was a
we ate
balance.
them
There was a
in
balance.
season, so we were eating them at their peak, right?
And the activity.
And
Don't
the
forget all
activities.
the activity. Yes.
We just, everybody, the girls participated in sports. Everybody. But no, and of course, we didn't have video games. We didn't have those things.
Well,
All
and
of our
at
activities were
schools,
outdoor.
I don't know. You probably know this because your kids are much younger than mine, but kids don't have recess anymore. It's like I was shocked at the schools. Like I remember we always had that playtime or the recess, whatever
it was built in.
Yeah, but it's like that's a thing of the past. I'd like to welcome Collard Grant. Thank you so much for joining us, QT, and happy birthday to you once again. So
Right,
yeah,
right. Yes, right.
that's a change, right? There's a
yeah,
change in
yeah,
lifestyle.
yeah, yeah. So and then even, and I'm not quite sure. I mean, with us, recess and playtime, it was literally mandatory. I mean, I'm
Yes,
sure there was probably a one or two students for medical reasons that would, skip it for whatever reason, right? But here, um, you could literally just bring in a slip and you're just not doing anything.
it's
You,
true.
yeah, yeah,
It's
it's
true. Like
just, yeah,
even lunchtime, after
yeah,
lunch, there was still time to go outside.
right,
Hello, Mikey. Thank you so much for tuning in.
yeah,
After lunch, we would still have time to go outside and, work off some of what we just ate. A lot
right,
of kids, unfortunately, don't have that anymore. So,
right.
this is leading to my next question. Now, in the 80s, and I
Hmm.
remember watching a documentary about this
Hmm.
where the food industry made the change from sucrose, table sugar to high fructose corn
Hmm.
syrup. And
Right,
this led to food addiction because all of a sudden they started coming up with all the supersized meals. Do you remember
right,
when that started?
right,
And it's
right.
like all of a sudden people
Hmm.
couldn't just drink one soda anymore. They
Right,
couldn't
yeah.
just eat one hamburger. They couldn't eat the small things that we would be
Hmm. Hmm.
satisfied with once upon a time.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's when there was a skyrocketing rate of diabetes,
Hmm.
obesity, all of these things.
Hmm.
So I'm asking you, why is it important to be a conscientious consumer? And when I say a conscientious consumer, I'm talking about knowing what the heck is going in your food that you're
Right,
eating, that you're consuming.
right, yeah, yeah. So one of the things that make sugar addictive in nature, I have to say that, right, um, is because we have advanced so much in food technology, in food production, um, where we can use artificial sweeteners, right? Um, and put in a package, and actually say sugar free, but yet still there are artificial sweeteners in it. So
Yes.
those are not labeled as sugars, right? Um, and then uh, the salt, the sodium, and these artificial sweeteners have has made the our food, so much more palatable. The food is so much more addictive, and it is
Yes.
more, it's more abundant. It's and it's available. It's
Yes.
readily available. So like you said, pre 1980s, where things were just normal size, and these food items were more of a reward, right,
Yes.
as opposed to an everyday
It's
event.
no to me it's no longer special.
It's no longer
When
special,
you're
right?
having it every single, like I remember telling my kids when I was growing up, we were lucky if we had ice cream once a week. And my daughter
Exactly.
would always say things, I would never tell anyone anything like that. But I'm like, it's
No,
the truth. You guys are
once a
eating ice
week,
cream
once a
every
month.
day. And it's just not
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah, right. So we really have to be mindful.
Yes.
Like I remember about 10 years ago, when I was just getting back into the gym working out, I wanted to buy a protein powder. Um, so I went to one of those big box stores, which I will not name, and I questioned the clerk, and I made sure I told her, I said, I don't want anything with sugar. And she says, oh, we have a store brand. It's our bestseller. And she showed me no sugar. Big bold, no sugar. Pre, I took that thing home. I scooped it out, made my shake. That thing was so sweet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how? I mean, common sense. If something is sweet, but yet
You
still the
know
label
there's
says
so
no
much sugar
sugar.
in it.
Okay, I mean, something is wrong here.
Yeah.
So again, these, like something called like sucrose, right?
Yes.
Which is a derivative of sugars. It's an artificial
Yes.
sugar. So it's using sugar extract,
Mm-hmm.
and that sucrose is not 40%, Brie, but it is 400 to 500 times more sweeter than natural sugar. And that's what they're putting in there. And yet still the label says no sugar.
But how many people will question that? They're just going to go by what they read. But what I would like to challenge viewers to do is start reading labels.
You
Pay
have to.
attention
Yeah.
to what's, because things that you would never dream sugar is in, sugar is in
Sugar
it.
is in everything.
Sugar is everything. And
And
this is something
in
I
mustard,
noticed.
ketchup,
Everything.
it's in
It's
everything.
in every, like you said,
Yeah,
it makes the food more palatable. So
you're right.
that's why the food industry started to do this. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what I've noticed is like you can go to England
Mm-hmm.
and you can have the same brand soda or
Mm.
juice or
Yeah.
whatever. The color looks different, the taste is different.
Mm-hmm.
So it's amazing to me that in this country, the
Mm-hmm.
things that they are allowing to take place with our food. Because
Right.
I'm saying to myself, why is it in England there are certain things that they're not allowing?
Right.
And
Right.
here
Yeah.
we have to
Yeah.
be proactive as consumers. I mean, what's your
Yeah.
take on that?
Yeah. I mean, there are a whole host of American brands, food products that are not available in other countries outside of
Yes,
America. And even if you see the same product, it is not the same product
not
as
the
you would have it
same.
in North America. It is they change the ingredients for Europe, etc. Um, so you have to be mindful. The question is, why do we allow it here?
I
And
think a
the
lot of
rest of
people
the
don't read
world
labels.
bans it in their country.
Yeah, isn't that something to think
Yeah,
about?
yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to ask yourself, why is it that what I am consuming here um, is not permitted in all of these other countries? Why is it? Why do they ban? What do they know that we don't know?
Well,
Yeah,
it's because they know it's not healthy. And think
yeah,
about it. I
yeah,
remember reading something about a certain brand of soda. I won't mention
mhm,
it,
yeah,
but they showed a bottle from England and a bottle
mhm,
from the United States.
yeah,
The color orange was like night and day for both
yeah,
brands.
yeah,
And they
yeah.
mentioned the food dyes, the
Right,
dyes that they're
yeah,
putting in foods,
yeah.
dyes, the sugar, all of this. So I think we can do a better job of reading labels and being
Well,
proactive.
I would say one of the good things, emphasis on one.
Yes.
So one of the good things from the current administration is the the secretary of the FDA recently
Hmm.
banned a lot of food items,
Yes.
namely um, all of the food coloring. He banned those.
Good.
He banned high fructose corn syrup.
Good.
Um, but then again, so just like what you're saying, Brie, like when you're in England, the food is similar product, but they look different, they taste different.
Yes.
So although he is banning these high fructose corn syrup and the food dyes and certain um, highly processed meats, here is the catch. It is only banned. It is only banned in America in in the public school system and in the prison. So your child or your whosoever that's in the prison will be getting healthy meals, but we on the outside, again,
Isn't that ironic?
ask yourself, why? I mean, if it is bad, you know it's bad. Why not make it banned across the board? But no, they're only doing it for public schools, so not private schools, but only the public schools and the prisoners.
Wow.
Yeah.
My next question, Andrew, is how does sugar affect the brain?
Do you have anything to start the conversation with? I mean, there's just a whole lot.
I'll put it like this.
Yeah.
I noticed recently when I started to cut back, because I had a lot of that brain fogginess, that brain fog.
Right.
And, I was attributing it all to menopause. But then I had to really stop and think, like, I'm consuming way too much sugar. And I remember reading an article, and that's when we were starting to prepare, for this show. And
right.
It's like, you know what? I'm going to cut back on this chocolate every night. I'm going to cut back on all these cookies every night.
Sorry for laughing.
But it's being honest. But I noticed when I started to do that, my thinking was clearer. My thinking was so much clearer. It's like, for my job, it's like some days it's really high pace and, a lot of problem solving and all of that. And there were some days it's like, damn. But it's like my brain, it just felt at times like overwhelmed. Now, since I cut out a lot of that sugar, it's like night and day. It's like, oh, wow, my brain does still work. So that's what I want the viewers to think about. Some people thinking, oh, Alzheimer's, whatever. I mean, I would like you to address that, Andrew.
I saw an article where he mentioned in just 2 to 3 weeks of cutting out sugar, he mentioned the 4 major organs, how they would be affected immediately. Within 2 to 3 days, you will see signs, positive signs of changes. So I think he started off with talking about the liver, the what do they call it? Fatty liver. So with cutting out the sugar, he says immediately the liver is going to shrink. So what's going to happen is it's going to start to use up not sugar as the primary source of fuel, but the fat. So the fatty liver is going to shrink, which in turn shrinks the stomach, because a lot of that over that mass is the fatty liver, right? So he says immediately your stomach is going to reduce, because cutting out the sugar is you're going to lose approximately 10 to 14 pounds because of that liquid fat. That's going to be within a month. It's just going to dissolve. He says your facial structure, that fatty, puffy, round shape, is going to become more angular. It's going to shrink a bit, be more structured. He spoke about the kidneys, which is part of filtering naturally, there to filter out the toxins through our urine. So our urine is going to have less protein and sugar in it once we get off 2 to 3 days.
Yes.
So what that high sugar would do to the kidney is diabetic nephropathy. So that is going to start to reverse. He mentioned about the eyes, like I can tell you. So when you reduce the sugar intake, the eyes at the back of the retina is going to start to repair. So you're going to have, instead of having that cloudy vision, that fogginess, you're going to have more clarity. And diabetics, they will call it diabetic retinopathy. And again, reducing the sugar from in our arteries, he says, what you will see over time is the blood flow, right? Our arteries will be more pliable, right? Because when there's lots of sugar in it, the sugar gums it up, and the blood flow is limited, right? And it becomes more brittle. But once you reduce the sugar, that over time starts to reverse. So when you say, and of course the brain reducing the sugar, like he said, and just like what you mentioned, you immediately start getting more clarity. Your memory improves.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, I mean, there are, it doesn't take long for anyone that goes on, whether it's 2 to 3 days or 2 weeks, the effects are almost instantaneously.
It's worth it. It's definitely worth going through the withdrawal. It is definitely worth it.
Yeah.
My next question, Andrew, is, are artificial sweeteners safe?
The quick answer to that is no. The jury is still out on that. I'm not quite sure if anybody's going to do that type of work, because there's lots of power and money in this that will prevent that type of research. But based on just common sense and how people are actually reporting, it seems as though that these artificial sweeteners are not, they are adversely affecting us, but the research is still out on that.
I remember watching a documentary once about a lady that was hooked to diet sodas. And she had actually gained a lot of weight, and that was very confusing to me, because it's like, okay, if it's sugar-free, then why did she gain all this weight? Why is she having all these issues? And it was actually affecting her health. So, it made me question. Now, years ago, I will say the artificial sweetness tasted differently. This was years and years ago. And you could use one pack, and you could taste it. It was never like actual sugar.
Right.
But
Yeah. There was
you could taste some sweetness. Yes, that aftertaste, which I didn't like. But let me ask you this: at the end of the day, is it better to just use the real thing, just cut back on what you're using, or learn to use an alternative like maybe honey or something of that nature?
I we all need a little bit of sweetness in our lives,
I
right?
think so.
So what we have to do is utilize the natural sweeteners from nature. Natural meaning natural in nature and not artificial, right? I would say stay away from artificial sweeteners. Any synthetic man-made sweeteners, I would stay away from that. Um, and use that to complement the food types that we're eating. So the dates and the raisins, those things that are naturally sweet, the fruits, I would use that in the meal as much as possible to offset, the other meals that may have pepper in it or salt in it, so that the overall meal can have all the different taste that we need. But I would still try as much as possible to limit sugar, any added sugar, like, scooping out brown sugar or granulated sugar. They actually say that the average American eats 30 teaspoons of sugar. 30. And I would like our viewers to actually,
That's when you think about it, it's a lot. That's
scoop
yeah,
it,
that
scoop it
that's a
out.
lot.
Scoop it out in a glass, in a dish, and see what that looks like. And tell yourself that's the amount of added sugar you're putting in your system daily, not for the week or the month, but you're doing that daily. And we get that through the ketchups,
It's in everything.
the
It's in
mustard, the
everything.
sodas, the juice, the yogurts. I mean, everything that you're eating, all of that accumulates to approximately 30 teaspoons. And they said that the average should be for males 9 teaspoons, which to me is a lot, and for females 6 teaspoons. But I would still say read the labels. I know for myself, I would say for about more than 5 years now, I have I have eliminated drinking juice, period. I don't drink juice. I don't add sugars to if I'm having hot oats, if I'm having a cup of tea, it's just the tea, just whatever it is, with no sugar. That's what I have done, and all of those benefits that I'm telling you about, I can personally testify to. Like you said, the clarity, the energy, and even my mood. So it's not just the clarity in thinking, but your interpersonal relationships will also change.
Let me ask you this. I've seen now they have sugar that's made from dates, sugar that's
Yeah,
made from coconut, sugar
yeah,
that's made from these alternatives.
right, yeah.
Are these sugars a healthier choice?
Common sense would say yes, because they are derived from those fruits. But at the same time, they're still artificial. They're still synthetic. So I would, I, so like, yeah, I would say if I didn't have a choice, so if it was between, some, sucrose and as opposed to the sugar that is coming from coconut, I would take that. If those two were my only choices, right? But again, personally, and I'm not saying what I have done is what I am putting on anybody. I have just made that conscious decision to remove sugar as much as possible. If it's already in what I'm eating, then that's fine. But I am not going to add sugar to anything that I'm consuming.
Okay, so now I'd like us to talk about sugar withdrawal some more, because this is for those who are seriously thinking about cutting back on sugar,
Right.
right? Do you think it's I can tell you for me, I decided this time around to
Mhm.
do it gradually
Right.
instead of going cold turkey
Right.
because, I'm working
Uh-huh.
and I don't want to go through that, while I'm
Right.
working.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't want to take a vacation
Hmm. Hmm.
to go through that.
Right.
So I have found that doing it gradually is
Hmm.
actually working
Right.
opposed to going cold turkey. Now,
Hmm.
for some people, cold turkey is the way to go.
Right. Right.
But
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
when you go cold turkey, I mean, it's just be prepared to suffer. And
Yeah.
it is suffering. I'm not exaggerating because people may think,
Yeah.
what is she
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah.
Trust me when I tell you it is suffering.
Yeah.
When you hit those
Hmm.
lows every day, at the time you normally would be consuming sugary items, you're
Hmm.
going to feel it, especially when
Yeah.
your body is craving it.
Yeah.
So, what words of encouragement, Andrew, would you like to put
I
out
would.
for the viewers who are considering, if not getting off it, but they're considering cutting back?
Right. Yeah. To make your life uh, manageable and to make this a new lifestyle as opposed to something that you're just doing for a short term and then you're going to revert, and normally when you backslide and you revert you end up going completely overboard, right?
Yes,
So I would say, um, if you can't go cold turkey, that's fine. It doesn't mean because you can't go cold turkey, it doesn't mean that there isn't a suitable pathway for you. I'm
yes,
what I did. I said, okay, um, from the juices that I don't drink sodas. I cut all of that out. So that's what I did. Somebody else may say, okay, um, I am going to not eat chocolate, but they may drink juice, right? And they will have results there. So you can take one thing, you can eliminate one small item at a time,
yes,
and as you progress in that, and there's nothing like success. Success just breeds success. So
yes,
as you do one thing and you conquer that, then that's just going to motivate you to take that next step. Okay, so I took it out of my juice. Okay, then you know what, I'm going to say reduce white bread and I'm going to convert to whole wheat. Okay, fine. So now you're not drinking the juice and now you're doing whole wheat instead of white bread. Okay, and that may take you a year. And in the following year, so now you're still keeping those two, but then now you may say, okay, uh, instead of white rice, I may do brown rice. Fine. Um, I think for me, one of the most impactful things, Brie, I would say, is um, eating the way how I would have eaten back in the 1970s, where it's just my three meals, right? We weren't snacking.
yeah.
No.
We didn't.
Right. And especially when when I eat my dinner, like we didn't go to our parents after dinner. No, you ate your dinner, you went to bed. That was it, right? You did your homework, you had your shower, you went to bed. That was it.
Mikey's saying
Now,
eliminate all added sugar since sugar is already preloaded in most food. Which yes, and that is so true. Now,
right. So
Andrew, the things
right.
that
So
you're
that's why we said
mentioning,
if the sugar is already in the food, then my position is I'm not adding sugar, literally scooping any sugar at all, period, in anything.
it's to
Right.
get
So
it's to
you know,
get to that point where you're able to do that because for those who are addicted to that taste of sugar, that
right,
sweetness in their mouth, it's
right.
going to take a while to adjust. Now,
Wait,
I can
right.
tell I can tell you that just a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I went down to a size 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, I eliminated all the whites, white
Mm-hmm.
rice, white
Right.
potatoes,
Mm-hmm.
all of that was out of my diet. I
Right.
cut out bread. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
eat cereal. I didn't even eat oatmeal. And
Right.
I was amazed at how quickly the weight fell off.
Right.
Now,
Exactly.
even then, and I'd gotten to the point where I did learn to cut back, like you mentioned, juice,
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature. I
Right.
had gotten to the point where applesauce, something as simple as applesauce, became like ice cream to me. It
Right.
had just enough sweetness because I like sweetness, but it
Right.
had
Right.
just enough to keep me going. So the thing
Exactly.
is, it's doable, but I think everyone has to go at their own pace. But
Right. Exactly.
we're at an
Mm-hmm.
age now where we really have to take these things into consideration. So now,
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, let's talk about retraining your taste buds
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
takes a little while to
It
make
does.
that
It does.
adjustment.
Right. So like I said, with me and the juice. So like you said, I eased my way into that. So
Mhm.
when I decided that moment that that's what I was going to do, um, for a couple of days, what I would do, Brie, is just to trick my mind, to retrain my taste bud, and to reframe what my brain, what my eyes were seeing. I would take uh, like grape juice, like
Mhm.
just a half inch in the cup, the glass, and then pour water so that
That's a good
my
idea.
brain is saying, okay, you're having juice because you can see it. It's colored. It's orange. It's green. It's purple. Whatever, right? And so I would do that, and then eventually the logic kicked in and said, okay, I mean, who are you fooling? Just just get rid of the juice. Just drink the water. If that's what you want to do, just do it. And that's where I am now. So yeah. So um, it's about doing whatever it takes for you to get to that point, to get to that end goal. If it is reducing the chocolate, the cakes, the pastries, you have to find a way how to reframe what it is you're doing, whatever that habit is, whatever that compulsive behavior is. And especially, I mean, and we haven't really spoken about it, but a lot of people consume sugar being associated to an event, whether it's a joyful or sadness, uh, loneliness. So
It's like those who are drinking alcohol or smoking that cigarette.
exactly,
They're
exactly,
getting something out of it.
they're getting
Mikey
something
is
up
saying,
right.
Andrew, what are some of the natural beverages you consume?
Natural beverages. So I have no problem drinking coconut water. That's
Do
natural,
you do like I know some people,
right?
and I don't mind it sometimes, like putting fruit in their water or putting like I like rosemary and mint leaves and lemon in the water. That's actually a nice, easy flavor.
Mm, yeah. Well, I've gotten, I, I'm way past that. So just drinking water, like I have here, just every day, that's
Some
it.
people, Andrew, though, I'm not no disrespect, but some people like a little flavor.
Oh
Some
yeah,
people
oh
don't
yeah.
want just a
Oh,
bland
but
taste. The
okay, so
bland now
I do
listen,
have
I don't
flavor.
like water, and I
Yeah, I do
can't
have
tell you
flavor. So
why.
I have my cup
Yeah.
of tea. I have my ginger tea. Yeah, so
Okay.
yes, I would. I buy the herbal tea bags.
Okay.
So I don't do a lot of peppermint because I read where peppermint, um, within minutes of drinking peppermint, it actually kills your sperms.
Oh, really? I have to do
So
some reading
hey,
on that.
uh,
I don't mean to laugh. I never heard
hey,
that one before,
you don't
but
have to tell
I
me.
have to look it up.
Hey, I don't want any young kids at this point. I'm happy with my two boys, but hey, I don't want anything
But see,
interfering with,
we
you know,
talk
with
about
that. So,
that's what we're talking about, reading and being a conscientious consumer,
right.
knowing what you're putting in your mouth. Maxine is saying it's associated with stress and stress eating. And you know something,
Hmm.
Maxine, that's true because I
Yeah.
can tell you, like at night, if I'm watching television,
Hmm.
and that's the time sometimes I think about my children, I
Right.
think
Yeah.
about certain things, and it's that I'm telling you, especially with chocolate, there's
Right.
something that's comforting about it.
Right.
But I
So,
will say this. Go ahead, Andrew.
yeah. So what I do, Brie, in that, so like I said, um, I stick to my 3 meals, and
Mm-hmm.
the only snack that I would treat myself to in between, and I limit that. I really limit, and especially cut it off for dinner. After dinner, nothing afterwards, unless it's just a handful. I'm literally just in my, not a handful full, but just in the palm of my hand, I would have uh, cashews, peanuts.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fine.
but so, because I would always have some type of cereal, and the cereals are loaded with
They
that
have
high
so much
fructose corn
sugar in
syrup.
them. Yeah, they
And I
yeah.
realized that would, I'm like, why am I exercising, but I'm still so bloated? And then once I
Yeah.
eliminated the cereal at nighttime, oh, my stomach just is like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
went flat.
especially if you're having it at night. Now with your nuts,
Exactly.
are your
Right.
nuts salted or unsalted?
Um, it doesn't matter. I'm good with salted or
Well, I
not.
ask you that because I remember years ago having a conversation with a lady, and she said
Mm-hmm.
that every night she was having these peanuts, and
Mm-hmm.
she went to the doctor and they couldn't figure out why all of a sudden she had high blood pressure, but she was eating
Well,
all these salted nuts. So
right.
that's why I asked you
Yeah.
that. So
Well,
yeah.
right. So again, with me, I change up, even if something is good, you know, I literally rotate myself through everything. I
That's
don't stick
good.
on any one thing too long, because even in that, there is some adverse effect, really.
Yeah.
So I mean, salt is just as addictive as sugar.
Yeah, but see, for me, I can eat it, but it's not
Mm.
something I have to have.
Right,
Like
right.
when I get cashews, guess what I get? I get the honey roasted. You see
Hmm.
what I'm saying? I want that sweet taste. So
So
that
again,
so
right.
that is the thing. But this is what I would like to say to the viewers. Like some of the
Mhm.
things that Andrew has been talking about. Get a journal, start writing
Yeah,
down what you've started to take out, and then
right,
each day, how do I
right.
feel?
Be honest.
Today I
Yeah,
feel terrible. You know what?
yeah,
Today I'm starting to feel better. I don't feel
right.
so
Yeah,
tired. My thinking is clearer. And I
yeah.
think that will definitely encourage you. Now, let Andrew in the retraining of your buds.
Hmm.
Now, your taste buds.
Yeah, yeah.
Food does taste differently
It
once
does.
you get used to not having the sweetness all the time. It does have a
Yeah,
different taste.
like I'm tasting more of the other taste. So I'm experiencing more of the food, um, because I've cut down the sugar. So I'm tasting more things as opposed to just sweet. So the food is actually tasting better. I am enjoying eating the food and chewing the food and swallowing a whole lot more, as opposed to just stuffing just the sugar, because uh, the sugar, it's just so addictive. You just want more and
Right.
more
And
and
the thing is, half the time when you're taking it in, you don't even want it anymore. But it's like
you can't
you're not
stop.
even enjoying it
Yeah,
necessarily, but
yeah.
it's just that habit. Now, I will say this, like any other addiction,
Hmm.
if you cut it out and you
Hmm.
could be doing fine for a while. I remember like for the longest going without bread and all this stuff
Hmm.
and going on a cruise. And
Right.
I'll never forget, I had some French bread. It was
Hmm.
a wrap after that. I started eating bread again. It's like
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
I stop eating candy and
Hmm.
drinking all these juices and things,
Yeah.
I'll do okay. But once my taste buds gets that taste
Yeah.
again, it's like it's we got to
It's a
start
wrap.
the battle again.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that the
Yeah. Yeah.
battle starts all over again. So
You're right.
it's like
Okay.
knowing
Yeah.
our limitations and knowing
Right. You have to.
what we can't, do without.
Right. You have to make a conscious decision. You have to know yourself. You have to fall in order to know your weaknesses. So you have to give yourself some grace.
Yes.
Don't say, okay, because I fell off, it means that I am bad and there is no hope for me. No, what the lesson in that is, you know what? The next time I'm going to get up, I'm going to go back on it, but I'm now mindful of the fact that I can't taste these things as I would before because it's going to set me back, right?
Yes.
It's about pursuing. You're not going to get to that mountaintop with making one step. No, it's a journey.
It's a journey.
So
It's
you have
definitely a
to,
journey.
yeah, you have to
How
be kind to yourself.
how important is meal planning when you're going through this process? Because I think if you go to the grocery store and you have a list and
Hmm.
you say to yourself, okay,
Yeah,
this is what I'm buying, I'm going to stick with it. Or
yeah.
if I do decide to buy some chocolate, I'm only going to get myself one small, I'm not saying that you should, but I'm just saying go with a
Free,
plan.
free.
Go with a plan.
We just spoke about self-discipline. No chocolate. You can't eat a chocolate if you don't buy it, Bree. It's not.
Listen,
You can't have it at
listen.
night if it's not
I
in your house.
I'm just saying because this everyone's journey is different. So if that
Okay.
person can't just quit, I know because it's like this is the thing. When you try to go for some people, once they fall off the horse, that is it. So
Yeah,
that's why I decided to do it gradually this time
I
because
know.
I know
But
how painful it
I'm
is.
telling you, Bree, we we are much stronger than we think. I'm telling you,
Andrew,
we are.
listen. You're talking to someone like I
Yeah,
said. I've
yeah,
been through
yeah,
this, and I get it.
yeah.
And because I get it, that's why
Yeah.
I can have empathy for the person
Mhm.
that's going through it. Because I know not everyone has that strong
Yeah,
willpower, and
yeah,
some people, it's just hard. And I've seen it where
yeah. You
people
will
go
get there.
gung
You will get
ho,
there.
and then
It
they
the
stop,
first
and then
time.
they give up. They give up.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So really, I mean, they to me the message is don't give up. Don't
No,
give
that's
up. But
I definitely agree.
don't at the same time don't coddle your weaknesses. Don't create a crack for that thing that is setting you back
Let
because
me
that
ask you
thing
this.
has no.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because like I know that a lot of Seventh-day Adventist people are very rigid when it
Hmm.
comes to their diet. Now,
Hmm.
I've seen some people that they will just have a fit if someone brings a cake into the church, which to me is ridiculous. Because
Well,
I think
not
there are
at my
times
church. Not at my church.
if there's a celebration of
Yeah.
some kind or
Yeah.
something like when we were growing up, like I
Yeah.
remember for Christmas, my
Hmm.
mom and my grandma, they would make those Jamaican the black cakes,
Hmm.
right? They
Hmm.
would make, and it was like a time of people had the sorrow and things like that. It's not
Hmm.
something that we had every day, but we
Exactly.
had it for
Yeah.
the special
Right.
occasion. So that's what I'm
Right. Yeah.
talking about. If
It's a
there's an
celebration. Yeah.
occasion, a
Yeah. So
celebration, I
yeah.
mean, what's your take on that?
So okay. So one of my North Stars, Brie, right, is First Corinthians chapter 10 verses 31, right? So whatever you eat or drink, um, do it, whatever you do it to the glory of God, right?
Okay.
So if I'm a Christian, um, and I am enjoying the blessings of God, right? Um, I want the blessings all day, 7 days, 24 hours. I don't want God's blessing just for that one midday service, whether it's on the seventh day, Saturday, Sabbath, or the first day of the week, Sunday. No, I want to enjoy God's blessings throughout the day, all day. So therefore, whatever I do as a Christian, I can't be a Christian only for midday service and then for the rest of the week I'm living like the world. No. So
So because listen, for this, like when it comes to what people are eating, drinking, or whatever, because like I try not to go there with judgment. I've seen it,
right.
Now I know that obesity, which is something I want to address, these are genuine struggles that people have. And
Right,
sometimes it's not necessarily out of greed or whatever, because as we are learning, food can be addictive. Now, I do believe when we're living our best
about
life,
my situation, my medication caused me to put on weight. So some, you can't just look on
some things you're not in control of.
Right.
But
Yeah.
for how can I put it like this? When we are struggling with food issues, the struggle is real. The struggle is real. So I would say keep the journal.
Yeah.
Be realistic. Don't be too hard on yourself, but understand the benefit. Understand the benefit of what you'll be reaping from making the change, especially as we are getting older. We can't do listen, I have not had, the only time I have condensed milk now is if I'm having some porridge, and it's not very often. But I think back to those days of using that spoon and just pouring it.
Yeah.
Because it tasted so good, like we were mentioning with Milo or whatever, But it's like at the end of the day, I think back, Andrew, my grandmother for Sabbath, she used to make gazadas and toto for every Sabbath. She would make ginger beer.
Yeah.
She would make all these things, and she did it every week.
Yeah.
But it was like not every single day. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we enjoyed it.
We enjoyed it. Yeah.
For the couple days, but it wasn't an everyday habit. So I'm thinking that it would be nice to go back to our old way. Go back to our old way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So sugar is not immoral. It's
no, it's not.
There's nothing wrong with it.
No, it's not.
We just have to be mindful of the quantity that we're
too much, because when you think of sugar, too much of a good thing, too much of any good thing is not good after a while.
So so that's my point. My point is, whatever you decide to do, right? You have to be focused on that, and at the same time recognize that it's a it's a journey. So whether I fall, I'm going to get back and I'm going to learn from my mistakes, but I'm not going to give up or give in, because that's what the devil wants. Right?
Let me ask you this, because you shared something with me that it's something that has stayed with me. I remember when I first started to learn about juicing, which I learned from Aya Bingi. She was stressing like the green juice, sweeten a little bit, like with a green apple, right? But there was no extra sugar or anything like that. Now I see this where these fruit smoothies have become a big thing. And I remember you sharing with me about you feel like you hurt yourself doing a lot of like the fruit smoothies.
The fruits,
right? So I would like you to address that, because look, a lot of people when they go and they get their smoothies, like, look, I don't mind a smoothie. I definitely don't. But we still have to know that, okay, it's fruit. Fruit has sugar. I call it God's sugar.
Right.
But we still need to be mindful, right? So I just like you to address that.
Right. So again, like we said, we all need some sugar in our life because it is good. The beauty about eating a banana as opposed to a donut, right? The way how God created that banana or that apple or whatever it is, uh, it is so well packaged. The sugar and the fiber that it's in, right? Um, so when we consume that, um, our 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 the spike, our sugar spike is gradual. Whereas when I eat a donut, there's this big spike. I get all happy and jittery, and then there's a crash, after 10, 15 minutes. But you don't get that when you're eating an orange or a banana. It's gradual. So there's no fluctuation in your mood or anything like that. But when you take that banana, that fruit, and you put it into your blender, your Ninja Bullet. Everybody's have their Ninja Bullet. What you're getting is 8 to 12 ounces of sugar, because you have destroyed the fiber, the natural fiber of that fruit. So now you're thinking that you're getting, oh, I'm getting all my minerals, my essential minerals. You're just going to get high quickly in half an hour, and you're just going to crash.
Now, I'm not telling anyone out there not to do their smoothies or whatever. Now,
Yeah.
I will say that they have ways of like different things that they can put in your smoothie. You can do it without sugar, you can do it whatever.
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
just a thought. It's
Yeah.
just a thought to
It's
be
just,
mindful.
think about it, and if you want to prove it to yourself, buy. Most of us have insurance. There are many insurance policies that will partially or even completely give you a continuous glucose monitor, a CGM, right? So you just call up your insurance, find out. If you get one, even if you wear it for a short term, 2 weeks or for a month, you can monitor that and see how your body, because we all react differently.
Yes.
To these food types. So you can see how your body reacts to that fruit shake as opposed to eating it. So cut up the fruit, eat it, check it, and then tomorrow, the next day, cut it up again, blend it, and check it and see what happens. See how your body reacts. I know when I did it, and then I went to do my blood work, my doctor called and said, something is happening. Your blood glucose level is off the chart. I've never seen this before. What have you been doing, the past 6 months? And I told him. He's like, well, I think you need to stop. And then I saw, so that, hit me. But then I watched a morning program on NBC, The Good Morning, and someone spoke about it then, and I'm like, okay, I have my confirmation. I don't need anything else. So that is so. But I still do the green smoothie, the natural one, and I may add a slice of apple in it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, there's no honey, there's no sugar. It's just the kale and the cucumber. That's it. Carrot. The carrots are naturally sweet. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And something, Andrew, I think back to when my grandmother used to make carrot juice. And then she would put in all the condensed milk.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember doing the smoothies with the carrots, just the carrots, and it was sweet.
Right.
So I was saying to myself, why do we have it with all this condensed milk?
So
so it made me stop to think about.
I had a brief.
Yeah.
A Trinidadian friend. I went to the family house, and they had carrot juice, but they actually call it. They sweetened it with lemons. So it was actually like a lemonade. There's no sugar. So it was just the natural sweet from the carrot with the lime. And that thing was so refreshing. Never
I
had
don't
that
know if I
before.
would like that combination, but it's good to try. No, it's
Yeah.
good to try different things. So,
Yeah.
you know, I would like to say to the viewers, at the end of the day, this is just information that has been put out there,
It's
you
information. Yes.
know, and do with it what you will. You
Yeah.
know, if you're thinking about taking this journey, I would suggest a journal. I would
Right.
suggest that you know, not only do you journal what you're eliminating, I want you to talk about how you're feeling
Oh,
and
right.
how is it
Right. Yeah.
affecting your health? How is it affect? Are you sleeping better?
Right. Yes.
Are you
Yeah.
grouchy? You know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But when
And
you
don't
get,
give up that
yeah,
first day. Give
no, no, because
yourself
no,
at
trust
least
me,
3 days.
you hang in there, and I will be, to be honest with you, I think by the third day is
Yeah.
when you start to feel a little relief. But if you can
Right.
do
Yeah.
it for
You
five
sort of like
days,
turn that corner.
if you can
And
do it for
yes.
5 days, then
Yeah.
I tell you it can be life changing. But
Right.
the
And
only
come
thing
back.
is be care.
Come back to this podcast, this series, and add your comment. I mean, I would
Yeah,
be
it
interested
works.
to
Like
yeah.
it will work because, like I
Yeah.
said, I've done it myself several
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Your taste buds will make the adjustment.
Yeah.
Your taste
You
buds
will
will make
lose
the
weight.
adjustment. You'll lose weight. Your
Yeah.
skin will be clearer. You'll see
Right. Yeah.
so many changes. But the thing
So
about
many.
it is, if
Yeah.
you are weak, just like a drug addict or a
Yeah.
person that, a person that's struggling with alcohol, if
Mm-hmm.
you hadn't had a drink in a while and you go and you have a drink, then you
Mm-hmm.
can be opening up yourself for all of that again.
Right.
It's the same
Exactly.
thing with the sugar, but it's
Same
like
thing.
some people can do it occasionally
Mm-hmm.
and walk, but not everyone is like that. But I
Right.
would say
Right.
the biggest question is why?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you feel the need for the sugar? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's, for me, it's like comfort. It's
Right.
just something, like candy, it's just like a childhood thing. It's from
Mm-hmm.
childhood.
Yeah.
But at the
And
end
you
of the
know, Bree,
day,
as you're saying about journaling, I would just add to that.
mm-hmm.
Not just what you're eating and how you're feeling, but and especially what's in your environment. What's your situation? What are you thinking about? Not just how it's affecting you in terms of the jitters and the withdrawal, but as you're craving the sweet, that sugar, what's your mood? So that way, when you look back at the journal, you can say, okay, I was feeling down. Probably this happened at work. I was watching this type of movie. It made me feel this way, so that you can see those triggers.
Yeah. And the word trigger is, it's real. But the thing about it is, once your taste buds change, it
Yeah.
makes all the difference in the world. And yeah, there are
Yeah.
some people who can
Yeah.
indulge. They're not going to overdo it. They'll do it on the
Mhm.
weekend or whatever. But it's like, if you find this is
Mhm.
like an everyday thing,
Yeah.
then you really need to ask yourself, why do I need this every day?
Right.
Because it's like it's affecting lives, it's affecting
Mhm.
our health.
Yeah.
And it's a change, it's a simple change. And when
Yeah.
I say simple, it's not rocket science, but it
Yeah.
can be. There's that mental and emotional struggle
Mhm.
that you will
Mhm.
go
Mhm.
through. So, Andrew,
Yeah.
what are your closing thoughts for the evening?
Closing thoughts, Brie. Closing thoughts. I would say we don't need sugar in the sense of artificial sugar, brown sugar, granulated sugar. We can get all the sugar we need. Our brain and our bodily function can get all from the natural food and fruits that we should consume, right? So if you reduce your intake even by 20 to 50%, it is still better
Yes.
than what you had before. So the
Yes.
whole idea is to be mindful of how much you're consuming. A small amount, the required amount, is good for you. When the problem is when you go overboard. So that is the final word.
Andrew, I would like to ask you because I would like to retouch this topic,
Mm,
but now you're the man that does the bacon, right? So I'm just kind of curious if you could maybe give us a couple examples of what you bake and give us an
right,
idea of what you put into. I mean, if you want to do like a little
right.
baking class,
Oh,
I'm cool with that. You know, I'm putting you on the spot.
okay.
So,
I'll okay. I'll think about that. I'll think about it. Yeah, because really, I mean, uh, like sometimes I may run out of egg, and what I will do, I will use flaxseed as an egg replacement, right? Um, Sometimes the sugar is there, and I just don't want to use sugar. Um,
So I
I
give
use
us a
dates.
demonstration. It would be
Yeah,
nice. Now you
yeah.
don't if you don't want to do like the little baking class, but if you want to show us a few examples
Right,
of what
right.
you
Okay.
do, let
Yeah,
us know the
yeah.
recipes for those who would like to try. So to give someone else an alternative to
Right.
what they're already doing. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had a couple of things, the healthier versions, and they were actually decent. It's
Right.
not
Yeah.
something where I would tell you I would want to have 10 slices.
Right.
Well,
So
one
right.
slice is
I would.
enough,
Yeah.
you know?
So let's just put it out there. The the uh, the cakes that I have made
Mm-hmm.
using healthy alternatives um, are nowhere near as flavorful, texture-wise, taste-wise, as the all-purpose flour, etc., etc., etc. Can you consume it? Does it taste good?
I'm
Yes.
sure it does.
But if you're looking for equivalency, that's not going to happen, right? But again, you have to your body is the temple of God.
But that comes
So
from your taste buds change, right? After your
right,
taste buds have
yeah,
changed, so your taste buds find it delicious, right?
exactly. You will. You bake it. You're going to love it. I mean, I eat it. My wife loves it. But if it's a stranger coming in, they're going to be like, "Whoa, Andrew, what's that?" You know. But again, what is it that you want for yourself? And if reducing sugar is what you want, eventually your taste bud is going to change, and it's fine. Yeah, it's
And you know,
not bad, but
I'm
it's
glad
not
you
equivalent.
mentioned about the taste because I mean, you always post your pictures, everything
Mhm,
looks delicious.
mhm.
I know that it's an acquired taste.
Yes,
Mikey
it is.
says, give
Yeah.
us some edible, healthy alternatives for sugarless bacon, Andrew 101. Right, Mikey. So we're putting him on the spot. So he's gonna come back and give us some ideas. And listen, Andrew, we know it's a journey. The
Yeah.
taste
Yeah.
buds have to make the adjustment. It's
Yes.
not
Yes.
going to taste like what we're used to, but think
Yeah.
about it, the healthier version that
The
we
healthier
can
version.
learn, if we
Yeah.
can learn to accept those,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
then I
Living
think
life
that's good.
longer, healthier. That
Yes.
that is the goal.
All right, Andy. So, Mikey, we're going
Thanks.
to hold him to it, Mikey. We're going to hold him to it. So, yeah, we'll definitely, hopefully around September,
Yeah.
Andrew,
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
give you time
Sure.
to prepare for this.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I'm looking
Thanks again.
forward to next week. Next week, we'll be talking about is God the center of your life? And I'm
Mm.
really looking forward to us covering that topic,
Yeah.
Andrew.
Amen.
I
Amen.
appreciate
Amen.
everything that you covered tonight. I
Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time to research this topic.
Mm.
And for those of you who are watching the replay,
Mm.
please feel free to question your comments. If you
Right.
have any
Please. Yeah.
questions, if you have any suggestions, anyone, if you have a healthy alternative
Mhm.
for us, post it in the group and let us
Mhm.
know so that
Right.
we can give it a try.
Yeah.
And Mikey says, thanks, Bria and Andrew. Really appreciate this show. We appreciate
Thanks.
you guys that take the time
Thanks for
to
spending
watch
your
every
time
week.
because you could be doing something else.
Man, think about
Yeah.
all the movies and things they could be
Yeah.
watching right
Yeah.
now. So, no,
Yeah.
it means a
Thanks.
great deal to Andrew
Yeah.
and I that you take the time to watch.
Mhm.
And Andrew, I would just like to let you know I appreciate you. You've been faithful. You've been a great addition to this podcast.
Mhm.
And I appreciate all the information that you so willingly share with all of us. Do you have any other closing thoughts for the night?
No, no, no. Thank you, Ray. Thanks. God bless. God bless.
God bless. And yes, so get ready for your little mini cookbook or whatever it is, anything that you want. Because listen, a lot of us, like I've been through this journey, and it's
Yeah.
been an up and down journey. And like I said, COVID pulled me
Mhm.
back into old habits,
Mhm,
you
mhm,
know.
mhm,
But it's
mhm.
like it's a mindset, as you were
Yeah.
saying earlier. It's all a mindset. But
Yeah.
this was heavy on my heart for us to do
Yeah.
this topic.
Oh, so last week I did some dinner rolls, but I used whole wheat. I mean,
Okay.
not whole wheat. I used my Fosca oats. So the oats. So I blended the oats. I made flour from the Fosca oats and used that to make dinner rolls. Yeah.
Now, was that time
Anyway,
consuming?
no, we'll
Was that
stop it.
I'm just asking, is that time consuming?
No, no. It was so quick. It was so quick. The longest part in making the whole dinner roll was just allowing the flour to rest. So that was just for 45 minutes to an hour. But the whole preparation part, minutes, minutes,
Okay,
minutes.
that sounds interesting. I was about to say, look, Andrew, I don't have time to be making flour from oats. I don't have time or patience for that.
No, 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 no.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Well,
yeah.
Andrew, once again, thank you. And we're looking forward to what you'll have to teach us, hopefully by
Mm,
September,
yeah,
because everyone wants to learn, and
yeah,
continue to post your pictures on
yeah,
Facebook.
yeah. Amen, amen.
So I'd
All
like
right,
to thank
guys.
everyone. Have a blessed night, a blessed
Yeah.
week. Same to you, Andrew. And once again, thank you so much. And I look forward to next week.